I'd say the best way to overcome social anxiety is just being a passionate ass motherfucker. It's really just about speaking to yourself, having compassion for yourself, and not judging yourself, and especially being at like social events. 90% of people are probably feeling the same way. Hello and welcome back to the Magical Lane. I'm your host, Maggie Jane, and today I'm going to talk about ways to overcome social anxiety. I feel like I haven't talked about that too much on this podcast, but I have always been a very, very anxious person, especially with social events, which is kind of funny and ironic because I love going to them. I'm a very sociable person. I love being around people. I love being at events. And of course, I have those times where I want to be by myself, not talk to anybody, don't want to see the world. We all have those times. But lately, I have just been really trying to become aware of my social anxiety and what causes it and just how I feel in that moment and where I'm at when it happens, cuz it's just it's not at every place you would think. I even had, well, I guess it's just anxiety overall, but getting anxious about recording this podcast today because I'm at Elijah's house and I don't know where to set up, or I don't know if somebody's going to be listening to me or if I'm going to be interrupting anything. That's the anxiety that I felt for doing this episode. And then, of course, the anxiety of even talking about it. Because, I feel like as an anxious person, I don't talk about anxiety that often. I really don't. But I want to. I want to speak on it more because I know that so many people struggle with it. Specifically, social anxiety. And like I was saying, as somebody who goes to a lot of events, it's kind of hard to be in the entertainment industry and also struggle with social anxiety. Because it's just those two things don't really go together. Because how are you going to have a job that you need to be at events and you need to be talking to people and just being yourself and communicating all the time, but you're anxious as fuck all the time? They don't correlate. And so I want to talk about ways to overcome this and just gaining awareness of it. For me, what that anxiety looks like and what I have realized is that it's just self-judgment. That's where the social anxiety stems from. It's being judgmental of myself in the space that I'm in. Whether that's on a public beach, in the store, at an event, or just literally anywhere where there's people, it's just me judging myself, being in my head, questioning what I look like, what others are thinking of me, and just do I belong here? All that nonsense, it's constantly going through my head, and I have healed a lot of it, but it still shows up. It still shows up a lot. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because the last episode I did was on camping, going camping, being out in nature, hang out with your friends, and just reconnecting and disconnecting. But on that camping trip, we're back in Washington now. We're at Elijah's house. It was a beautiful time, and we got to see so many amazing things, and we camped at so many beautiful places, and he showed me a lot of his favorite spots just up the coast, which I'm always grateful for, and it's just so beautiful. I got to go to Oregon for my first time and see the Oregon coast and just camp there. It was a fun time. But there was this one night while we were camping, we went to Usal Beach, which is in California. And, I made a post on Instagram, so I don't know if you're on Instagram or if you saw it, but I made like a little fort on the beach because I'm a redhead. I have very pale skin, so I burn really easily. And this beach, it was just like it's a very remote beach, so like there's not much shade, nothing. You're just in the sun on the beach, which is usually how most beaches are. But I'm not a big fan of that because I burn really easily, like I said. So I wanted to build a fort. And so I grabbed some blankets. There was like already this giant stick. It was like in the shape of a Y, like stuck in the middle of the sand. So that was like my foundation for this fort. And then I like went around and there were a bunch of logs. So I like broke off some more sticks, stuck them in the sand, put my blanket over it, and then just sat under there. And I was protected from the sun for the most part. Definitely still some rays, but I didn't burn. So that was nice. But anyway, the point of this story, I built my fort. And there's people around. We got to this beach and there weren't that many people like out. There were some like in their cars, but they weren't like out on the beach. And we stayed there for a few hours. But by the time I was building this, there was this huge group of friends and family that like came and set up right by where that like Y stick was, where I wanted to set up our fort. And like they had their kids out. There's probably like 10 of them. They're out there fishing, swimming, living their best lives. Don't give a fuck about me, you know? But of course, I'm in my head. And the anxiety kicks in. And I'm just like, the first thing that happened once the anxiety kicked in, I started to question my ability of being able to build this fort. Because I like went around, tried to find some sticks. I found one good one, but then I couldn't find others. I hadn't found the good stick yet. I didn't know what to do. And Elijah was occupied, and I wanted him to come help me, but he was busy. And so eventually I was like telling him what I needed, but like I didn't know what I needed, but I was telling him what I needed. And then once I found a really great stick and like my confidence just like boosted once I like actually found what I was looking for, because at first I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, and it was like the anxiety was there and there was like people watching me that weren't really watching me because like nobody's really watching you because they're all in their own heads minding their own business. They don't give a fuck about you, but that's not what anxiety tells you. And so I found this stick, and then I got the confidence to build my fort. And so I like went around, started breaking more sticks off of logs, and like building up this fort even more. And then I realized it wasn't big enough because I was using the small blanket. And so I went back to the car, told Elijah, I was like, "Hey, I did it." And then I grabbed a bigger blanket, went back, found more sticks, put the big blanket on, and then it was good. I had my fort. I was happy. Some people complimented the fort. It felt good. And I was laying under there. And then, the next part. I wanted to go swim in the ocean. And for whatever reason, truly I don't know why, I just felt like I couldn't. I felt like I could not go swim. I'm at the beach. I built my fort. I'm in my bathing suit. I had already been there for hours. I was like running around, and what's crazy is when we first got there, I was just enjoying myself. I was running around doing flips in the sand, just like running back and forth along the beach, got the camera out, went around the whole place and just took photos. But when there's just a group of people near me, I just get so anxious, and I felt like I couldn't go get in the ocean. For whatever reason, I don't know. And I kept asking Elijah, I was like, "Hey, do you want to go swim?" Because, it would make me feel better if he joined me. Because then it's not just eyes on me. Not that there would be eyes on me. But I always think that there are eyes on me. But it's just like, it's interesting. Because I'm at the fucking beach. On a very remote beach. In the mountains of California. And I'm over here, sitting under my fort, feeling anxious and judging myself. And that just sounds crazy. Like, it sounds so crazy. Why do we as humans do that? Why do our minds do that? Why do we judge ourselves so much to the point where we don't even want to enjoy our time anymore because we're worried about what other people think? I don't understand it. I really don't get it. And I ended up getting in the ocean because Elijah went with me for one. He went with me, and there were other people that like showed up and they started swimming. To be fair, the water was really fucking cold, so like we didn't stay in for long anyway. But the point of the story is there was so much judgment and fear within me. I was gonna stop myself from doing what I wanted to do because I was around other people. And I don't like that. I don't. And I didn't let it stop me. But in the moment, I was gonna. I was just feeling a lot. And I let myself cry. I literally started crying. I'm sitting under my fort on the beach crying because I was anxious and worried that people were judging me if I went to go swim in the ocean, even though that's what people do at the ocean. You know, anxiety sounds so fucking crazy because it is. Like, it's bullshit. Anxiety is bullshit, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and it's crazy. But moral of the story: when those feelings do come up, feel them, understand them, accept them, love them. Elijah, you know, when I first met Elijah, he used to always tell me this because I've always been really anxious, and it's solely due to the way I grew up. um, as for everybody, but he would always just say like, tell yourself, I love that I'm anxious, or I'm anxious and I love that, instead of fearing the emotion or judging the fact that you're anxious because you're judging yourself. Just accept and love the feeling. So that's what I did, and that brought more tears and feelings up. But then I felt good, and I got to go in the ocean. I feel like growing up as a kid, I was always just like super anxious because I was just always wanted to cater to others. I was a major people pleaser, and I feel like that's really where the anxiety stemmed from, is because, you know, I wanted to please my mom growing up and please my friends. You know, I was the friend that people just walked all over all the time for many years of my life. I always wanted to make others comfortable. And that made me really anxious about myself because I wanted to perfect my energy and my look and the things I said for others, which never ends well, ever. And I feel like that's really where like the anxiety stemmed from. And even in the last few years, like I've been recognizing just like, you know, like what makes me anxious, or what specific like environments. Like I used to get super anxious going into the grocery store. I feel like I may have talked about that on here before, but that was just from like a childhood experience of where my mom or my dad would tell me like I wasn't supposed to do something in the store, which made me feel like I wasn't supposed to be myself in the store. And that made me be anxious of going to the store because I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta put on this persona to go in this specific place until I leave, and then I can be myself again. That's kind of how that turned into whatever the fuck. And that just like kept growing, and then getting into entertainment and modeling and acting. Like I'm always going to events. I'm always talking to people, and like the big thing with all this is, oh, network. It's all about who you know. Go network with people, and like that means talking to people, and that means going out of your way to make connections and sharing about yourself. And I notice like I like When I first got started in the industry, like I would say I wouldn't really talked about myself much, mostly because like I was brand new and I didn't really know what to share. More of just like a hey, I want to get into this, help me out type of thing. And that's like when it first started. But I feel like now it's like a kind of different anxiety because I'm like, okay, now I do have things that I do, and like I have established things and I do have experience in this. So I'm like, now people are actually going to judge what I'm doing, not what I want to be doing, if that makes any sense. And I'm just like, I'm thinking back to this time at an Arizona Fashion Week event, and this girl was just like, it was her first time at one of these events. She wasn't a part of Arizona Fashion Week or like modeling or anything. She just found out about it. One of her friends was there, and we started talking, and she was just like really listening, and she seemed really interested in like what I had to say and what I was doing. And I just like remember being in that moment and just like feeling like, am I oversharing? Does this girl actually give a fuck about what I'm saying? But she did. Like she genuinely did, and like I'm the one that ended the conversation because I was just like kind of getting in my head. I'm like, I don't really know what else to say about myself. You know, it's weird. It's so weird. Social events are weird. Social anxiety is weird. It's so weird. But I have noticed like the ways that I have been able to reduce those levels of anxiety in social events is just, well, of course, accepting myself more. And I feel like acceptance of yourself comes from knowing yourself. And that comes from inner work and taking time with yourself and discovering, like what you like. I feel like the least anxious people in the world are ones who just, they have so many creative passions and they just embrace them fully. And they just don't, like, this is just my perspective and opinion of it, but I feel like the people who have like the least amount of anxiety are the ones who are just so sure in what they do. They've just embraced their passions. They know what their passions are, and like they fulfill them and they act on them every day. And that has significantly reduced my anxiety, is just by like knowing what I want, like what I do, what I love, what I don't like. It's just it's truly about knowing who you are. I feel like that's the best way to reduce anxiety, is by just knowing and accepting who you are. And it's easier said than done, because like I said, I feel like the core of anxiety is judgment of yourself. So, yes, that will decrease once you learn to accept yourself more. I feel like I've been really in my head a lot lately. Just like questioning everything that I'm doing. I feel like I go back and forth between what I want a lot. And I kind of am realizing that it's coming from fear of feeling like I'm not going to achieve it. So I just switch what I want. Because if I don't know what I want, then I can't not achieve it. you know? But like, I do know what I want. And I was watching this video yesterday of Jenna Ortega. It was just an interview she was doing. I love her. I think she is a phenomenal actress. Obviously, I don't know her as a person, but she seems like a really great person. She's also like very early 20s, and like I grew up watching her on like Disney Channel and shit. But she did this interview, and I don't know, just something that she said, it just like really stuck with me, and it also motivated me to do this episode. And after, I actually ended up writing another poem after that and submitting for a contest, because I'm still working on my poetry book. Also, fun fact, my first poem that I ever wrote and submitted for a contest is now going to be published in a book. And it's not mine, because that's not done yet. But the community that I'm a part of, the Unsealed, they, for their contests, you have like the opportunity to, of course, win money, but also get published in their book for like their community. And mine got picked, so I'm gonna be in a book, my first book. So I'm excited for that. But anyways, Jenna, when I was watching this video, she was just saying like, and I feel like many celebrities say this because like it's real, but just saying like the most attractive thing about a person is just someone who talks about their passions. And I feel like that's true for everybody. Like it is super attractive knowing what your passions are and sharing them with the world and just embracing them and not judging them and just like accepting, hey, I'm passionate about this and I want to tell people about it. Like that's so dope. I love that. I love passionate people. I love being a passionate person. I'm a very passionate person, but I'm also a very anxious person. So I do get in my head a lot. And I feel like lately when I'm in my head, I definitely struggle to do like anything creative. That's why I feel like I'm struggling with this episode. Because I've just been in my head a lot lately and like talking about anxiety when you're feeling anxious. I don't know. It doesn't really go well. But I think it's kind of going well. I'd say the best way to overcome social anxiety is just being a passionate ass motherfucker. Which, of course, comes from knowing what your passions are. But I feel like nearly everybody knows what their passions are. I feel like it's kind of impossible to not know what you're passionate about. It's more of just breaking down the walls and the beliefs of society and just accepting that you are passionate about something. Because we all have passions. We were all kids once. Every kid is passionate as fuck about something, at least one thing. So discover what you're passionate about, accept what you're passionate about, and just embrace it and talk about it. I don't like to talk to like a bunch of people at events, but like that's also a lie. Because I do. But I feel like the times when I feel like I don't want to talk to people, I'm in my head and I'm feeling socially anxious. And so I just want to observe and not talk to people because then I can't say anything stupid or ramble on. I love being anxious and I love everything that I am and that I feel. It's really just about speaking to yourself, having compassion for yourself, and not judging yourself, and especially being at like social events. 90% of people are probably feeling the same way. And that's what's so funny about social anxiety is I feel like most people are socially anxious and we all just try to put on these personas and it's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to be someone that you're not or judging yourself all the time. Like it's fucking exhausting. The best way to live is just accepting who you are exactly as you are and just embracing it, embracing your passions, no matter what they are. I feel like you can't, I don't know, I feel like you don't choose your passions. You choose like how you express them, but at the end of the day, like what you're passionate about, that's just like you're born with that, you know? Like I have a passion to just like share and speak, but how I do that is my choice. But the passion for it is just there. So just accepting that, finding your way to express your passions and owning them and embracing them and loving them and sharing them with the world. That is my biggest tip on how to beat social anxiety. Is just loving to share what you love. And because, like, other people love that. They really do. And I feel like we get really in our heads about what we're passionate about because we feel like others are going to judge us. But, like, really, the right people are going to love whatever it is simply because you're passionate about it. And that's the beauty in it. It's just, you're never going to know that until you do it and start to share it. And you're never going to experience that until you just become that passionate person that just loves the fuck out of themselves and what they do. And your creations and your life just gets better. And your relationships get better because whenever you're going to events, if you're not being your full self, then you're never really going to make genuine connections. Because, like, how is somebody going to connect with you if you're not even being you? You know? So it's interesting. Like, we go to these events to make connections and, like, show up as ourselves. But then we show up in this fixed way and we can't even make genuine connections because we're not being ourselves and we're just in our head. And it just does nobody any good. You know? I don't understand it. But social anxiety is real. I struggle with it, but I'm overcoming it. And I don't let it stop me from putting myself out there and doing what I love and sharing what I love. And you shouldn't either. And you should talk more about your passions and share about what you love and just embrace yourself fully and just show up as you. Show up as who you want to be, wear what you want, do your hair how you want, put makeup on how you want, or don't put makeup on. I don't like makeup, but y'all know that. And just embrace it and just go in. You know, I feel like the best way to show up to an event is with absolutely zero expectations. Absolutely zero expectations. And just go in with the intention of just having a good time. Like, don't even go in with the intention of, oh, I'm going to make so many good connections tonight, or I'm going to talk to, like, this many people about my business. Just go in and vibe. Go with the flow. Set intentions of how you want to feel. Like, this event is going to make me feel excited and happy, not I'm going to get this and this from this event. Just, like, focus on how you want to feel at that event, and you will naturally get better results. So I think going in with the right intention and mindset is super, super big, and not being in your head before you even go, because then you're just going to want to leave. I've done that way too many times. We'll just like, oh, I don't even know if I want to go. I don't like my outfit. Well, we'll just go for like 30 minutes, but then you're going to end up staying longer, or you're going to leave and feel like you missed out on things, and it's just not going to be a good time. And then, yeah, don't do that. Go in with the intention that you're just going to vibe, and you're going to leave feeling excited and empowered and more passionate. That is my best advice for you. Just accepting your passions and feeling the emotions that you have, embracing them. And yeah, that's all I got for you because my laptop's going to die. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you struggle with anxiety, I feel you, man, but don't let it stop you because you have way too many gifts to share with this world. And you're too passionate and too beautiful to deny yourself that. Or anyone else. Truly. So get out of your head. Go into the feelings. Feel it, love it, accept it. You know, anxiety only stops you if you let it. You can feel it all you want. That's alright. It's gonna be there. But just accept it. It is not who you are. It is just a feeling that you have. And that's okay. Because, like, a lot of people feel it. So, don't let it hold you back from anything. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And fuck anxiety. Be passionate. Be passionate and share yourself with the world. And keep being fucking magical, man. Peace.